in.
Sergeant John Kenneth Smith, Royal West Kents reporting, sir.
Oh, yes, Sergeant. You volunteered to become a commando soldier.
Yes, sir.
You are, I believe, an expert with explosives.
Somewhat, sir.
We have decided to accept you, Sergeant.
Thank you, sir. I'm proud of the honor.
We have decided to accept you because we could use volunteers of your experience on a special, very dangerous job.
Am I permitted to ask the nature of the job, sir?
I'm sorry, Sergeant. It's secret.
I volunteer, sir.
Good. You'll be ordered to a combined operations training center immediately. You need a few weeks there before you're ready for this work. Thank you, Sergeant Smith, and good luck.
The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Council on Books and Wartime, presents the premiere of Words at War, a series based on the most important books to come out of this war. Stories of the battlefronts, of behind-the-scenes diplomacy, of underground warfare, of the home front, of action on the seas. Each is a living record of this war and the things for which we fight. Tonight's story is based on material from the recently published book, Combined Operations, the official story of the British Commandos. Words at War presents Hilary St. George Sanders, the author of Combined Operations, for a few introductory words. Mr. Sanders.
What you are going to hear tonight is not an actual extract from the book Combined Operations. It is an imaginative reconstruction of one of the most successful commando raids described therein. It does not pretend to be accurate in every detail. After all, why tell the enemy what he would very much like to know? But you may be assured that the incidents depicted either happened or might well have happened. In any case, here is the story, as told by a man whom we shall call Sergeant Smith. Sergeant Smith of Number 2 Commando of the Combined Operations Command.
Actually, Smith is not my name. But for reasons of military security, I must be Smith.
Well. So this is what I'm supposed to make commandos out of, is it? Let's have a look at you. You. What's your name?
Smith, sir. Sergeant John Kenneth Smith, Royal West Kents, assigned to Combined Operations.
And you?
Corporal E. Provan, Piper, Seaforth Highlanders, assigned to Combined Operations.
Carrying your bagpipes with you when you arrived, I noticed. What made you volunteer for Combined Operations?
I heard you needed one good man in the outfit, sir.
Hey, boss, while you're at it, how come you're in this man's army? I thought the Irish were supposed to be neutral.
The Irish are neutral. But who the devil do you think they're neutral against? You think we want the English to be beaten and have no one to fight with after the war? And you? Who are you?
Private Edward Murphy.
Murphy? Glory be to the saints. And what sort of a name is that? Irish?
Why, sure. Me, I come from Brooklyn, boss.
And in what part of Ireland is that?
It ain't. It's in the USA. Brooklyn is a city of which New York is a suburb.
Oh, a Yank, is it? And I suppose, like a good many more of you I've met, you couldn't wait for the States to get into the war. You had to rush up to Canada and join up. Is that it?
That's right, boss. Me and Piggy O'Donnell from Canarsie. We done it together. We were sick of going to Ebbetsfield to throw bottles at the umpire, so we decided we'd get into some real fighting. So we hops in a train and gets the car.
Spare me the complete story of your life, please. Piggy O'Donnell. With a name like that, you'd think he'd be a good soldier. Why didn't he volunteer for the commandos?
Piggy didn't come back from Dunkirk. Now,
You men have been very carefully chosen from all the volunteers for combined operations. You're all supposed to be outstanding. Mentally, physically. But let me put you straight. Up to now, you don't even know what soldiering is. When you finish commando training, if you finish it, you'll be worthy of that uniform. But now listen to me carefully. Combined operations means just what it says. Attack and raiding operations in which the Army, the Navy, and the Royal Air Force work together. We don't go in for petty discipline here. Every man is on his own, more or less. We expect you to obey the rules. Too many lapses and you're out. And once you're kicked out of the commandos, you couldn't get back in again if you were His Majesty's fifth cousin. Another thing. We work in twos in the commandos. Pick yourself a mate and work with him. Stick with him. You'll find it pays. And now I see you're all very tired. You've had a hard day. And some of you can hardly keep your eyes open. So I'm not going to keep you standing here any longer. Piper Provan.
Aye, sir.
Pick up your bagpipes and take your place at the head of the column.
We're going someplace, Sergeant Major?
Yes. We're marching to Edgemere and back.
What?
It's only 22 miles the round trip.
22 miles?
Room. Right. Turn. By the left. Wait. Hurt. All right. Hit the key.
We climbed cliffs. We did exercises by eights together, balancing logs 9 inches thick on our shoulders. And we learned to handle one of the most devastating instruments of death known to modern warfare.
Now watch me close, boys. This cottage is a strongly held German position. We're the demolition squad. You, over there. You're the protective squad. Open fire on the Germans. That'll give us a chance to work. Now, boys, while the enemy's supposed to be in that house is engaged by the others, we'll get our little gift ready for him. Take this satchel charge. It's a number of blocks of TNT held together with wire with a satchel handle for carrying it. We set the fuse, like so. We insert the igniter, like so. Now, while our own fire covers us, we run to the house, ram it up against the wall. Now, run back like blazes. Run, you terriers, run! Down, boys! Down on your faces! Down!
So that's what a satchel charge does, eh?
Look at that cottage.
Where the heck is it to look at?
Blown to smithereens.
As you can see, boys, these satchel charges can make the Nazis very unhappy. But be careful. Please be careful how you handle them.
Oh, Sergeant Major,
Yes, Timmins?
could I have one of them things for my mother-in-law?
All right, move on.
Colonel in London had told me my mission would be dangerous. He hadn't told me quite how strenuous commando training would be. We marched and doubled and marched and doubled and marched again over all kinds of country. We swam rivers in full equipment and crossed them on bridges made of toggle ropes. And we ran the gauntlet over specially prepared assault courses.
Hey, Brooklyn! Voice me!
Pardon me, boss.
Get a move on you there!
But, boss, these bombs are real.
Aye, and the bullets too. Look, you smashed the bayonet of my rifle. Half an inch lower and I'd have been ex-corporal Pravan.
Blimey, Sergeant Major, this game of yours is too dangerous.
Real bombs and ammunition. And what do you think the Germans will throw at you? Spitballs? Get going and take that objective.
We wrestled and boxed and learned jiu-jitsu and how to swim in from the sea, holding our Tommy guns over our heads. We learned the tricks of handling the 2- and 3-inch mortars, an anti-tank rifle, and how to use the rifle butt on human skulls. We learned to hunt tanks and their crews, to storm pillboxes, and to march March! 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 This was learning the trade of war. But commando training gave us mastery of our own minds and bodies, too. Strengthened our mental and moral makeup. Built within each of us the self-confidence and self-reliance the good commando soldier must have. I remember well my first lesson in this. It happened one evening after we had finished a 33-mile forced march. We were sitting around singing while Scotty played his bagpipe.
That was a bit of all right, that was, Scotty. Encore.
Come on, Scotty.
No, I didn't feel like playing more than you lads.
Hey, Scotty, swing out with Chattanooga Choo-Choo, or can you on that contraption?
Why, Scotty.
Aye, Smitty?
Well, I swear, man, you're the saddest-looking Scots piper I've ever seen in my life.
Aye, I suppose I am. You see, lads, I'm in love, I am.
Oh, in love?
I mean it, lads, with the sweetest lassie north of the border. It was home on furlough I was to be married to her. Then came the word I was accepted for the commandos, and I was called back, with only enough time to give her a wee kiss on the red of her cheek.
Yeah, but why get a crying jag on about it?
It's the song Brooklyn lad, the banks of Loch Lomond. You see, May, that's her name. She's a sentimental lassie, and she says that's our love song. She was singing it. You see how it is. Look, here's her picture.
Oh. Well, she's very lovely, Scotty. Isn't she? Congratulations, Scotty.
Oh, my, she's a beauty, ain't she? Hey, here comes the great Singlepuss himself, boys.
Aye, the sergeant major's riding one of them Yankee jeeps.
Gee, it's good to see you, boss. I wouldn't have been able to sleep tonight if you hadn't come back.
I see you're in fine fettle, Murphy.
Honest, boss, I'm not kidding. I was just saying to the guys, if the sergeant major don't come back before they sound lights out, I said, I won't be able to sleep.
Well, there'll be no lights out tonight.
What?
You're on your own, boys. The next parade's at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning at map reference A144G16 on your scout map. A144G16.
6 a.m. Where'd he say?
Did you say map reference A144G16, Sergeant Major?
I did.
Well, let's see. The scale is... Well, that's 73 miles from here.
That's right. It is.
Well, for the love of... Well, that means we got to ride all night. Okay. Maybe this is your idea of fun, boss. When the lorries be along to pick us up?
There won't be any lorries, Murphy.
Huh? What's that? No lorries?
But Sergeant Major, how are we supposed to get there? It's 73 miles away.
That is your problem. Be there at 6 a.m. or you'll be on a charge. Absent without leave. Good night, commandos.
We got there, all right. Every man as best he could. By what you call hitchhiking, on Shanks' mare, riding freight trains. Yes, we were beginning to realize by then that as commando soldiers, we were expected to solve our own problems. But finally the day came when we stood on parade. Those of us who had come through the grueling training, on parade under the happy, contented glare of our sergeant major. And we heard our commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Newman, say,
Well, men, you've come through all right. You're now commando soldiers. But you have no time to rest on your laurels. From now on, you'll continue training. Training constantly, side by side with the naval units of the Combined Operations Command and the RAF. Those of us who are lucky will carry out raids on enemy territory. Those of us who are extremely lucky will return from them. And between raids, we'll continue training. We'll never know when what looks like a training operation will turn out to be the real thing. Welcome to Number 2 Commando.
The colonel knew what he was talking about. For weeks, in all weathers, we trained with the naval arm in craft large and small. Much of this I am not at liberty to describe. But I can tell you about one cruise that we took for reasons other than the good of our health. We'd gone aboard this vessel one day in March 1942, and under orders went below and stayed there. In the wardroom, Brooklyn was attempting to teach Scotty a rather non-bagpiperish tune.
No, Scotty. Listen. This is the way it goes. You leave the Pennsylvania station round 3:45, read a magazine, then you're in Baltimore. Dinner in the diner. Nothing could be finer to have your ham and eggs in Carolina. I'll try that part.
You'll have me daft with your Yankee airs.
Hey, you're just seasick, Scotty. Wait till we get back ashore and make a regular jive book out of you.
Yes, when do we get back ashore? We've been going for hours in this here ship we have.
Fly me if we ain't, Timmins. What's it all about?
Does anyone know the name of this ship?
Fly me if I do. You, Sergeant Major? Hey, where is the Sergeant Major?
As soon as we saw Colonel Newman and the troop commander, we knew something was going to happen.
Men, this is it. We're on our way to raid Nazi-held territory. This ship, HMS Campbelltown, was formerly the USS Buchanan. No doubt you've noticed the changes that have been made in her structure and the clumsy way she's been steering. That's because she's packed to her bottom with tons of explosives and scuttling charges. Makes her hard to handle.
Scuttling, sir? Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Yes. The Campbelltown's to be scuttled in the port of Saint Nazaire. Saint Nazaire has the only dry dock on Europe's west coast big enough to accommodate the Nazi battleship Tirpitz. We're going to ram the Campbelltown against the gates of the lock leading to the dry dock and keep the Tirpitz out of the Atlantic. We're going to ram her at exactly 0130 tomorrow morning, about 20 hours from now. The Navy men will take care of the scuttling and set the time fuses for the delayed action charge that will blow up the ship many hours later. While they're doing that, we of Number 2 Commando will be ashore, destroying powerhouses, bridges, and other objectives. We'll have just 2 hours to do our job. Complete instructions with map references will be issued in an hour. Any questions?
Are we alone in this operation, sir? Or are the motor launchers that were with us when we started out still around?
As you'll see when day breaks, the MLs are still with us. We have also a destroyer escort. The MLs will take us off at the old mole in Saint Nazaire when our job is done. Anything else?
But suppose it fizzles, sir. Suppose the delayed charge and the ship fails to go off, and suppose we can't manage to ram her against the lock gates. What then?
We've got a plan to cover that. Sergeant Smith.
Sir.
This is the job I spoke to you about when you volunteered for combined operations. Your particular job is to get ashore with your section just as soon as you possibly can when the ship rams the lock gates. Go to the powerhouse that operates those gates and destroy it. One way or another, we'll keep the Tirpitz out of the Atlantic. Any further questions? Very well. Carry on.
Well, that's it.
I'll lay you 50 to 1 that none of us comes back alive.
Well, what do you blighters want to do? Live forever?
I'll take you up on that bet, Timmins. Even if I lose, the odds are too good to pass up.
Yeah, you're Scotch,
but
all right.
I'll not lose. I've got to come back. I'm going to be married a fortnight from now, and my girl would be very insulted if I showed up for my wedding in a shroud.
Come on, give us a song, Scotty.
Yeah, come on, make a Chattanooga choo-choo, Scotty.
No, Brooklyn. Somehow I don't feel like playing the pipes. I think I'll just lay down for a while and think, if you don't mind.
Throughout the night and the following day, the force moved steadily toward Saint Nazaire, constantly risking discovery. But we were in luck. Now it was close to 1 a.m. of Thursday, March 28th, and the Campbelltown's nose was quietly poking its way up the estuary. Every one of us knew what his job was. We were all on deck, waiting for the crash.
Hey, Smitty.
Yes, Scotty? What's eating you?
Hampton's overhead. Am I right, Sergeant Major?
You are? Those Hamptons are on their way to provide a diversion. Them RAF lads are our decoys. While the Nazi places searchlights on the planes, he can't turn them on us.
Look at that bloomin' flag.
It's most of it traces, too.
John, if it don't remind you of Coney Island on the 4th of July.
Those Hamptons are laying plenty of eggs in there.
Yeah. Let on deck, everyone! Let on deck! They've spotted us!
Full speed ahead! Force draft!
Hey, you blasted nasties. If you don't stop shining that searchlight in my face, I'll be letting you have it.
Never mind the whispering now! They've spotted us!
Lie flat! We're about to open fire! Lie flat on deck!
As it began, German searchlights ashore flooded the estuary, every ship in the force. Campbelltown was still nearly 2 miles from the locked gates. From shore, the tracer shells came pouring in beautiful illuminated arcs. Our ship's bridge was being heavily battered. The deadly rockets hurtled out from Nazi batteries to smash through the gallant ship or ricochet from her sides like exploding stars. Her foredeck was afire. Masts had toppled. Funnels sheared off. But her skipper, Lieutenant Commander B.D., sent his ship tearing full speed ahead toward the locked gates.
Steady, boys! Don't lose your bearings! Be on shore when our jobs are done. Is that understood? Yes, sir. Smith, you and your men get the powerhouse. Right, Sergeant Major. Fine. Now brace yourself. He's going to hit the gates, and when she does...
Murphy, lad.
What is it, Scotty?
We were supposed to crash at 0130. It's now 0134. Will you kindly go up and tell the captain that there's a Scotsman aboard his ship who doesn't think much of his navigating?
Oh! Get ashore! All right, let's go!
The wild skill of the pipes gave us heart. We charged ashore. Our covering parties protected the demolition parties while dynamite was set and discharged. But the enemy could fight too, and many a fallen commando soldier attested to that fact. Up went the pump house, and after it the lock gate power station. My own particular job, accomplished unfortunately at the sacrifice of 2 brave men. Building after building was set afire. For our allotted 2 hours, we worked like madmen. And when 3:30 came, the Sergeant Major pulled us together at the appointed place.
Everybody here.
All that's left.
Where's Timmons? Parker? Thompson?
Timmons, coming ashore.
Cochran and Thompson died in the powerhouse.
Yeah, so did Willis and Peabody. The pump station.
You've been hit, Murphy.
Yeah, it ain't bad. That ain't exactly tomato juice that's coming out of your own sleeve there, boss.
Down! Machine gun left in that doorway! What did they get?
I don't know. Looks as though they got all except you and Scotty and Brooklyn and myself.
Take me off that list, pal.
Did they get you, Murphy, lad?
Not bad, boss. Just 8 or 9 in the belly.
Hold on, lad. We'll get you down to the dock in the old mole. The motor launches will be waiting there to pick us up.
The heck they will, boss. They're way overdue now. And if those MLs are still sticking around, they'll be pounded to bits.
He's right, Sergeant Major.
Even so, we can still pull through. You'll find some way back to England. Now just keep your chin up, Murphy, lad. First, I've got to figure some way of getting that bunch of Nazi machine guns in that house. You just wait for us to show our heads.
You let me worry about them dirty bums, boss.
Brooklyn, what are you doing with that satchel charge?
What's that? Murphy, don't light that fuse. It'll do us no good. You think you can throw that satchel over there? It's nearly 30 feet from here to that doorway.
Don't worry, boss. I ain't gonna throw it. I'm gonna take it over, personally.
Murphy, stay here. You want to be killed? Stay put. Now that's an order.
Do I want to be killed, he says. You know what you can do with your order, boss? I owe those Nazis something for a guy at Dunkirk.
You'll never make it, Murphy,
The
lad.
heck I won't. Anyway, what have I got to lose? Okay. She's lit. Smitty.
Yeah?
Heave a couple of grenades at that door and give me a chance.
All right, Brooklyn.
And Scotty.
Aye, lad.
Play something on that machine of yours, will you? Play Chattanooga Choo-Choo. I'd rather hear Glenn Miller do it, but... Okay. Let go with the grenades.
Here goes! Good luck, Murphy. Don't stumble, boy, or we'll all be dead horses.
He'll never make it. They'll cut him down before he can...
That's what you think. Stop!
As I have said, a satchel charge is a terrible weapon. Its effect is deadly. Its range is wide. There was no more machine gun fire from that house. There was no more house. No more Brooklyn. No more Irish Sergeant Major. No more Scotty. shall never know how I escaped the effects of that satchel charge. And you won't know, at least not yet, how I escaped from France and returned to England. I can tell you that next morning, nearly 400 Nazi officers and men were aboard the Campbelltown or on the dockside, the pick of the Nazi crop in that area. Precisely at noon, when they were deep in the bowels of the ship or close by her, our delayed charges went off, blowing them all to Helgoland. But military security forbids my telling you more, at least until the war has been won. Meanwhile, we commandos are awaiting the biggest raid of all, bigger than the ones on Saint Nazaire, on Dieppe, and on North Africa. The raid on Hitler's fortress Europa itself. It will be successful, we think. All the more successful for the knowledge that we have gained of the enemy in the past. Knowledge gained through the sacrifice of boys from Brooklyn, Cockneys from Lambeth, Irish sergeant majors, and gallant youngsters who will never meet again on the bonny banks of Loch Lomond.
Have heard the first of a new series of programs called Words at War. Stories told by men and women who have seen them happen, adapted from the most important books to come out of this war. Tonight's story was written by Richard McDonough of the NBC script staff and was based upon a portion of Hilary St. George Sanders' combined operations. Next week you'll hear Wendell L. Wilkie's One World, with Mr. Wilkie himself taking part in the program. Our cast tonight included Les Damon as Sergeant Smith, Jackson Beck as the Sergeant Major, and Walter Kinsella, Ian McAllister, Victor Beecraft, and Roger DeCoven. The original music was written and conducted by Frank Black. The production was under the direction of Joseph Losey. This program has been presented in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime by the National Broadcasting Company and the independent radio stations associated with the NBC network. This program came to you from New York.
Words at War. Out in the South Pacific Ocean, there was great faith and a lot to be learned in the last 2 months of 1941 and in the first 4 months of 1942. There was great faith.
The United States will never let the Philippines go.
Manila. We'll show those Japs what it means to play in the big league.
We'll have reinforcements any day now. Lexington is off the coast. We're getting planes
Those
tomorrow.
are our planes. They must be ours.
And a lot to be learned.
Disperse your battleships. Never anchor in a straight line.
Pretty straight lines. Excellent targets.
Disperse your airplanes to a number of small scattered landing fields. No line formations when on the ground.
Straight lines, like the clay pipes in a shooting gallery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clay pipes in a shooting gallery with a Japanese eye behind the gun. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 planes in a straight line down there, and a Japanese eye behind the gun above them. The Japs can't fight. Why, they can't even shoot.
Oh, they can't even shoot.
They call it Pacific.
Words at War. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime, brings you another in its series of radio adaptations of great books of this war. Each week at this time, we bring you selected dramatic episodes from some of the most stirring of our war-inspired literature. Tonight's story, They Call It Pacific, by Clark Lee, distinguished foreign correspondent.
They call it Pacific. Japanese occupied Shanghai, China, late in November of 1941. I was sitting at a table in a nearly deserted tea room. Opposite me was American-born Sergeant Hajime Matsui of the Imperial Japanese Army. Jimmy, we call him. And now Jimmy is glancing cautiously around the room. He leans closer to me across the table.
I have a message for you from the Colonel, Mr. Lee.
What is it, Jimmy?
It was at the Colonel's suggestion that I asked you to meet me here. The Colonel says he believes that you appreciate Japan's national problems. He has grown to like you personally, even though your newspaper stories have been highly critical of Japan's conduct in China.
It could hardly be otherwise.
The Colonel has been informed that you have recently made inquiries as to whether the Japanese barracks near Shanghai would be used as an internment camp for Americans in the unfortunate event of war between Japan and America.
I certainly made no such inquiries.
Then perhaps you should have?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Will you have some more tea?
No, thanks.
It has also been called to the Colonel's attention that you plan to go to the United States on home leave in about 2 months.
Well, that one's true enough, all right. And why not? It's been 5.5 years since I left San Francisco. Lord, 2 years in Hawaii, the rest of the time in China and Japan.
The Colonel takes the liberty of reminding you that there have been no regular trans-Pacific ship schedules from Shanghai for some months. There is a possibility that after the next 10 days there may not be any way to get out.
The powder keg is just about...
It is almost certain to explode shortly and blow up the Orient with it. Mr. Kurusu, who is now on his way to Washington, will tell Mr. Hull that Japan is anxious for peace on Japan's terms. Terms that cannot involve surrender of any of the territory which Japan has taken in the past 4 years at the cost of so much blood and treasure.
And Mr. Kurusu will be told that Japan's terms are impossible, and then we'll go to war. What about yourself, Jimmy?
I'm here for the duration, or until I get killed. And there is a fat officer watching us from the other side of this room. I think you had better go.
Goodbye, Jimmy. I won't see you until after the war, unless we happen to come face to face in a trench. But I won't forget what you've told me. And thank the Colonel for me. When I walk across the room, fling the door open, here's the sparkling afternoon sunshine and crisp fall air of Shanghai. Rickshaw! Rickshaw! $1 for Go Chop Chop, corner Sichuan Road, Foochow Road. On our way now to the Dutch Lane ticket offices through the streets of Shanghai. The Shanghai of Japan's new order. Shanghai, China, with Japanese soldiers on the sidewalks jostling Japanese girls in kimonos. We're approaching the Garden Bridge, and there are Japanese soldiers on sentry duty. I'm not allowed to ride past these sentries, so I get out of the rickshaw, remembering to douse my cigarette. They stare at me with what we call the China face. Corners of the mouth turned down, chin thrust forward. Get out, they seem to be saying. Get out of the rickshaw. Get out of Shanghai. Out of China. Get out of the Orient, the Pacific, for this is Japan's new order. Well, I'm getting out. If I'm lucky, I'll get space of some kind out of Manila, then transship to the President Coolidge. I'm getting out, Tojo. But I'll be back.
Mr. Lee, Mr. Clark Lee, Mr. Clark Lee, Mr. Lee.
Over here, please. Mr. Lee's dancing in the pavilion. Plug it in right here at this table, will you, boy? I'll take it for him.
Yes, sir. Here you are, sir.
Hello? Who? Oh, Mac K Radio, yes. No, this is Melville Jacoby of Time Magazine. Mr. Lee is with my party. Yes, all right, I'll take the message for him. Go ahead. Yes? Yes? Uh-huh. All right, shall I read it back to you? Here it is. Clark Lee, AP Manila. Desire you remain in Manila. Kent Cooper, AP New York. Right? Thank you. Well, did you hear that, Senor Lanez?
It is unfortunate. Clark is looking forward to getting home for a little while, I know. And I am sorry for myself, too.
Oh, here they come now.
I thought he would be my traveling companion on the Coolidge. Oh, hello, Clark.
Oh, glad you could come, Roberto. So you've already met Mel Jacoby, huh?
Yes, we have been chatting.
May I introduce Mrs. Jacoby? Annalie, this is Senor Roberto Lanez of the Argentine Embassy in Tokyo.
How do you do?
Mrs. Jacoby.
After the first round, we dropped last names. Shall I order it now? Boy.
I'll have a Tom Collins.
Mel?
Same for me, please.
And I will have the same.
Tom Collins, all around.
Well, did you enjoy your dance?
It was wonderful. But everybody on the pavilion is talking war.
Yeah, it seems most of them are leaving on the Coolidge tomorrow. I'm glad to get out.
Maybe you ought to stay here in Manila, Clark. If you do go home, you might not be able to get back in time.
Clark isn't going.
Oh, darling, don't be depressing. Of course he's going.
What are you talking about, Mel?
A radiogram from Kent Cooper.
Huh?
I just took it over the phone. You want it word for word, Clark?
No, don't bother. I can imagine.
I'm sorry.
Oh, forget it, Annalie. I'll hang around with you two honeymooners until the shooting starts, if you don't mind. Well, Roberto, give my regards to the Golden Gate, will you?
Too bad we cannot do that together. Well, we can toast it. Here are the drinks.
I'll change that toast, Roberto. I say, here's to the first Japanese attack. Let them come to Manila. We'll show the Japs what it means to play in the big league. Mel, you've been here for some time. We're in good shape here in the Philippines, aren't we?
Oh, it seems so. I'd say there's some 2 divisions, about 30,000 Americans, besides the Filipino scouts.
How about our Air Force?
I should say there must be around 100 planes, 35 fortresses, and the rest pursuits. The Navy has a handful of PBY patrol bombers. That's not much. But if anything breaks, America can fly bombers out in 3 days now.
And Manila Bay is mined, and no enemy ships can ever get in there under the guns of Corregidor. Corregidor itself, of course, is impregnable.
Sounds good.
Do you mind if I ask, what do you think General MacArthur and Admiral Hart will do if war is declared?
He'll hit them and hit them hard, not waste any time about it. What do you think, Mel?
You bet. Our heavy bombers will probably attack Formosa and Hainan Island, mess up the enemy transports before they reach Luzon. Admiral Hart's patrol planes will spot the enemy ships, and the subs and destroyers and cruisers will tear into them. If any Japs survive to reach the islands, American forces will mop them up on the beaches and chase them back into the sea.
Well, it looks pretty good, How about another drink, boys and girls?
Well, it's getting pretty late.
None for me either, Clark. It's 2:00, and I think we ought to get upstairs and get some sleep. Roberta, shall we see you before you sail tomorrow?
I certainly hope so.
Coming upstairs, Clark?
No, I think I'll stay and have a nightcap with Roberto. I'll see you in the morning.
Right.
This morning.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Well, Roberto, when we say goodbye tomorrow, it'll be for the duration. Any idea where you'll be sent next?
I have no idea, no. I think I would like to go to Washington.
You like the United States, eh?
The United States of North America. Yes. I think Argentina should know more about your people. You are such delightful hypocrites.
You may be right at that, Roberto.
Of course I am. But you have a sense of humor, and that is the great saving grace.
Not always.
You can't refuse me.
Let's hear
I'm
that
an
specimen over at the bar.
Tomorrow? How dare you tell me what to do? You're just a policeman, a Filipino policeman. Well, go ahead, arrest me.
Don't want to arrest. Not a very
I'd like to
good
see you
neighbor, is
try
she,
it.
Clark?
We Americans are the ruling race here. You're nothing but dirt. Do you understand me, dirt? I'll show you. You can take that from me.
Mrs. Ward,
must ask you to go upstairs to your room.
And who are you?
I'm the manager, don't you remember?
Oh, sure. Sure, you're all right, but then he's trying to arrest me. I'll fix that dirty...
No.
Where are you going, Clark?
I want to talk to the constable.
But she was the wrong one.
Never mind her. I want to congratulate that constable. Come on.
And you have been telling me, mi amigo, that the Chinese in Hong Kong and the natives in Malaya and Burma will not fight for the British when war comes because the British have mistreated them and offered them nothing. Now, perhaps you are aware why Argentina says no when the United States asks for naval bases.
Sergeant.
Senor.
Sergeant, I'd like to shake hands with you. I'm Clark Lee of the Associated Press.
Certainly, Mr. Lee.
This is Senor Roberto Lanez of the Argentine Embassy in Tokyo.
I am Hilario Francisco of the Philippine Constabulary.
We both want to congratulate you, Sergeant Francisco, for the manner in which you behaved in the face of that woman's insults.
The lady was not herself, Mr. Lee. We of the Constabulary are expected to understand those things.
Yes, well, that's very tolerant of you, Sergeant. But it's time she learned how to conduct herself properly in these islands. She's an American. She ought to act like an American.
I, too, am an American, Mr. Lee.
Target. Neat rows of battleships and neat rows of planes. The Japanese bombers and machine gunners sweeping in from the sea find them without difficulty. Place, Pearl Harbor. Time, morning of December 7th, 1941. From alarm, through fear, to hatred, requires no great mental effort for Americans. But angry men shaking their fists at the sky cannot pour the splattered blood back into torn bodies, right overturned battleships, or straighten twisted steel. You cannot dam the torrent of little men with big machines. Sweeping southward through Indochina to Thailand, Malaya, and Java, eastward to Pearl Harbor and Hawaii, then westward to the Philippines. We wait in the Philippines for our turn and wonder what has happened to that precious plan we talked about so bravely.
Our heavy bombers will attack Formosa and Hainan Island and mess up the enemy transports before they reach Luzon. Admiral Hart's patrol planes will spot enemy ships, and our subs, destroyers, and cruisers will tear into them. If any Japs survive to reach the islands, American forces will mop them up on the beaches.
But it doesn't happen that way. We can't do that, you see. There has been a Pearl Harbor, yes, but the United States has not yet officially declared war. Planes and overturned battleships. No use sending our bombers up from Clark Field and Nichols Field in the Philippines. They can't go anywhere. We haven't yet declared war. The pursuit planes are up all right, but they'll be down for lunch, all of them. And they'll all line up in pretty, even rows, just in time as the Japanese Zeros hurl themselves out of the sun.
I'm afraid. I'm really and truly afraid.
Forget it, darling. We're doing all right.
Doing all right?
Don't you think so, Clark?
No, he doesn't, and you know it, Mel. Our airfields have been bombed and our planes wrecked. Manila's been bombed twice. Japanese transports have landed soldiers on Luzon. Clark saw some of them in action himself. And the naval base at Cavite has been bombed and badly damaged. If they smash Cavite, they can smash Corregidor, too.
Oh, Cavite will hold out all right.
There's nothing much to worry about, Annalie, except keeping a pretty head.
It's just a matter of time. Why, the minute that first bomb fell on Pearl Harbor, the United States got moving. From all over the country, those big bombers are flying to San Francisco. They'll hop to Hawaii and then on down to Australia and up here. They'll be here within a week. The aircraft carriers will ferry pursuit planes out from Hawaii and...
Staring out the window at Clark.
Cavite over there. I thought I saw smoke. Maybe bombers overhead again. Probably not, though. I didn't hear any sirens.
We ought to go. You ought to be working.
There's nothing to do now.
Well, you could be writing up that adventure of yours last week up in Pagayo. I never will understand how you got out of that one.
Nor I.
Well, that's just it. What's the use of writing it?
Well, write it anyway.
Oh, it's no good, Mel. Not even Hollywood would go for it. All that stuff about being surrounded by the Japanese, fires and falling off cliffs and nearly stepping on landmines, and just not getting killed at Tarlac and the rest of it. Oh, too melodramatic.
And that's irony for you. Here we
Good
are.
Lord in heaven! What is it, Clark?
What happened?
Cavite just blew up. Right in front of my face.
And on the morning of December 24th, 1941, Manila newspapers carried the headline,
Manila declarada ciudad abierta. Manila declarada ciudad abierta.
and in the streets and in restaurants and in offices, I heard the people of Manila discussing this new turn of events.
What is this Ciudad Abierta, this open city?
It means that we are removing all our forces from the city and asking the enemy not to bomb it. The purpose is to safeguard lives and prevent destruction of that which we do not have the forces to defend.
Does it mean that the enemy is coming here? What has happened to our army? Why did the Navy men blow up Cavite? That is a mystery. But our army is fighting well. Have you not read the communiques?
Maybe it would be better if we would fight the Japanese in the streets and from our houses, as they did in Odessa. Maybe we should fight them with our knives and bolos and clubs. Maybe it would be better to die fighting than to let them kill us later at their leisure. After all, if we hold them for a few days, help will be here from our big brothers.
They believed. Oh, how they believed. They knew that the big brothers would come. They knew that the United States fleet would come plunging proudly up through the islands, throwing airplanes inland from the decks of its carriers, and blasting the Japanese transport units to kindling wood and bits of torn flesh. And out on Bataan, they believed. They're fighting here on Bataan, side by side. The American Army and the Philippine Army. The aviators, without planes, now man rifles and machine guns. And the sailors from Cavite, without ships or a naval base, now man rifles and machine guns. They're fighting out here, side by side on a dusty little peninsula called Bataan. And they believe.
Say, did you hear the latest story about what actually happened at Pearl Harbor? Within 4 hours after the attack, American planes located and sank the Japanese carriers that launched the bombing and fighting planes against Hawaii.
Yeah, that sounds like us, all right. I'll buy that report.
Yeah, and I hear the Army's got transports jammed with troops on their way to Wake Island. Ah, they'll knock the stuffing out of those Japs and sink all of their ships quick.
They say a convoy left Pearl Harbor yesterday with reinforcements for us. But keep that under your hat, will you?
Ah, they're going to have plenty of trouble getting through.
For what? The United States has never done to fight yet, has it? They'll get here okay.
I came over to Bataan from Corregidor, where I left Mel and Annalie Jacoby to report from the front lines. I wanted to see those Navy guys, especially. I wanted to see how the Navy fought a land battle. Well, they're fighting it all right. Losing more men than they should. Because they don't know how to take cover. And because they don't know Japanese trickery. But they're driving them back. Back toward the sea.
Who cares about mathematics with a mortar?
I come up on the other side of the ridge now, and there's Commander Frank Bridgerton.
Yes.
Surrounded by
Yes,
5
that's
Army
good.
field telephone
Do it
sets.
again.
And using them all at one time.
Perez, you've got to lay a
Last
few
time I
shells in
saw
there
the
and put up
commander
Lieutenant
was in
Jackson.
Tokyo.
Yes, right. His senders on a heavy machine gun fire. He can't hold out long. Captain Wormuth is here with me now. Just got here. Some other guy just came up. Oh, it's Lee. Hello, Clark. You sightseeing?
Hello, Commander. What would you give to be in an airplane right now?
So he's turned out to be a comedian. Perez, you have 9 rounds, right? Hello, Jack. Jack, hold on, kid. I'll give you some help in a minute. Perez, you got 9? Now look, you've got to make every one count. You can't miss. Load your howitzer. Hey, Clark, this is Captain Wormuth. Art, meet Clark Lee. Get out of here, you two guys, will you? Will I get Lieutenant Jackson out of that trap down there? Perez, all set now?
I know you reporters came all the way up to the shooting line.
Oh, sometimes, Captain.
Pretty risky.
Here it comes.
Yeah, we've got some of our dead along this path. Gonna bury them soon. Hope they don't bother you.
No, I've seen plenty.
There won't be much more of this. Convoy came in yesterday. Give us those men and the ammunition. We'll run these Japs off Bataan in no time flat.
That was just one little freighter out of 3 that tried to get through, Captain Weymouth. Not a convoy.
What's that?
Just one little freighter. I'm living on Corregidor. I saw it.
You're a dirty liar.
Sorry, Captain. I know how you feel.
All right, Lee. I'm sorry. Forget it. How long are you going to stick around?
We're leaving tomorrow on a freighter. We're going to try to get through to Australia. We'd like to stay, but the censors won't let our stories go out anyway.
Watch your step along here. Some more bodies. Who's we?
I'm going out with Mel Jacoby and his wife.
I know him. Time magazine?
Yes, that's right.
Just got married, didn't he? Some girl with an odd name?
Yes, Annalie.
Yeah.
She's great, too.
Must be. Hey, look here. Look at this one. Oh, that's too damn bad. I knew this soldier. Look at that row of machine gun holes. They almost cut him in half.
Yeah, I've seen him somewhere, but I can't...
Sure you have. That's Sergeant Hilario Francisco of the Philippine Constabulary. He used to be on duty at the Manila Hotel.
United States Army Forces in the Far East, Office of the Commanding General, to whom it may concern. This will identify Mr. Clark Lee. Mr. Lee is a representative of the Associated Press and has been accredited by this headquarters. He is now traveling on a special mission with military approval. All military organizations are directed to render every assistance to aid him to his destination. Douglas MacArthur, Commanding General. Think that'll do it, Clark?
Yes, sir.
I'll give you the same thing from Mel Jacoby. When you board a ship to leave the islands, if you're lucky enough to make connections, throw away your uniforms, your guns, passports, and all diaries and identification papers. When you get to Cebu, look up the names of some businessmen and learn enough about them to enable you to assume their identity if you're captured.
We'll follow those orders strictly, sir.
Well, goodbye, Clark. I hope you'll make it. And say goodbye to Anna Lee for me.
Goodbye, sir. Good luck.
And, Clark.
Yes, sir.
We will fight as long as we can hurt the Jap. But unless we get reinforcements, the end here will be brutal and bloody.
The Princessa headed straight out into the China Sea for about 10 miles, then turned south along the coast of Luzon. Eastward, in the darkness, was the Japanese city of Manila. Those were nervous days and nights. But we reached Australia at last to learn that General MacArthur had got there before us. We saw him later in Melbourne, and the bitterness in his heart was reflected in his face. The bitterness in his heart was reflected in his face. A few days later in Melbourne, Annalie, Mel, and I were saying goodbyes as usual.
Well, Clark, here you go again.
I'm not going to say so long to you, Mel. Nor to you, Annalie. When I get to Sydney, I'll phone you to let you know if these orders to visit New Zealand still stick. If not, I'll wait for you there.
Well, if you do go on to New Zealand, Clark, remember to look around for a line of retreat. From here, we can always get to Tasmania and then to the South Pole if the Japs come. But it looks like the only way out of New Zealand is to Easter Island and then to Chile. And that's quite a long jump in a canoe.
You two are always talking about ways out of places. I'm glad to see for a change you're both starting to go north in the direction of the Japs. Let's start a counteroffensive of our own.
What's this about north? Where are you bound for, Mel?
Just a few short hops with General George to inspect Australian airfields. Don't worry, Clark. I'll be here waiting for your phone call from Sydney.
I'm waiting in my hotel room in Sydney. The trip to New Zealand is on, after all. Now that eternal telephone again. Maybe it's the Navy calling to confirm airplane transportation. Hello?
Clark, Bad news, Clark.
Annalie, what is it?
It's Mel. Mel was killed yesterday.
How?
They were at an airfield. A P-40 got out of control on the ground. It killed them both, Clark. Mel and General George.
What about you, Annalie?
I'm all right.
Mel Jacoby was dead. And I went on. I went on through many scenes of a bloody pageant in an ocean they call Pacific. This next scene is far removed, for there before me now are the skyscrapers of San Francisco. the most beautiful sight I have ever seen in my life. There are 3 other scenes which I hope to live long enough to witness. I want to be there when General Douglas MacArthur raises the American flag over Corregidor again, and then hauls it down and with his own hand raises the flag of the Republic of the Philippines, symbol of a nation which has won its right to life by learning how to suffer and how to die. I want to be with Generalissimo Chiang Kai-shek when he marches once again into Nanking after the last Jap has been killed or driven from China. And I want to see Jonathan Wainwright and Joe Smith and Arthur Weymouth and some Filipino scouts and Vandegrift and his Marines ride down the main streets of Tokyo. And with Admiral Halsey and his sailors, drive in tanks and armored cars across the moat and enter the Imperial Palace, while American airplanes fly overhead in clouds so thick that they blot out the rising sun.
As the third program of Words at War, we have dramatized for you portions of the popular book They Call It Pacific by Clark Lee. It was adapted for radio by Neil Hopkins, one of the NBC script staff. Clark Lee was played by Les Damon. Melville Jacoby was Sam Wanamaker. Anna Lee Jacoby was Joan Alexander. Other members of the cast were Fay Baker, Ed Begley, Bernard Lenrow, Louis Van Ruten, and Lon Clark. The original music was composed and conducted by Frank Black. The production was under the direction of Joseph Losey. Next week, Words at War presents episodes from the last days of Sevastopol by Boris Voyatikov. Vivid account of the fall of that Soviet Crimean port. Words at War is brought to you in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime, for the National Broadcasting Company, and the independent radio stations associated with the NBC network.
Words at War, the last days of Sevastopol.
Enter. You are the chief of naval officers here?
Yes.
My name is Boris Voitikov. I'm a newspaper correspondent for Pravda in Moscow. Here are my documents.
So?
I request passage on a destroyer to Sevastopol.
Sevastopol? Impossible. Visits to Sevastopol have been prohibited since yesterday.
By whose order?
The Admiralty's.
Where's the Admiralty?
At Sevastopol.
Now look here, this is senseless. I must get to Sevastopol.
Can you alone do the work of 5 divisions of troops?
No, of course not.
Then there's nothing for you to do at Sevastopol.
Now listen to me, comrade. If you don't let me go, I shall report to the Pravda editorial office that you personally, without the sanction of the Admiralty, prevented me from describing what is happening in Sevastopol.
Very well, Comrade Voitikov, if you insist.
I do insist.
Very well. Follow me. This is my home as well as my office. Make yourself comfortable. This is my wife. What is the matter, comrade? Are you afraid of her because she greets you from her coffin? Are you afraid of those staring eyes? Are you shocked at the agony and horror of her dead face? This is my wife, I tell you. This is Sevastopol. She was there. Friend sent her body to me. Her broken, dead flesh My misery and hatred. Multiply them by thousands. Add smashed hopes, rubbled buildings and homes, and you have Sevastopol. You wish to go there, Comrade Wojtkov. You have my permission. Go ahead.
These are Words at War. Tonight, the National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime, is bringing you another in its series of radio adaptations of great books of this war. Each week at this time, we bring you selected dramatic episodes from some of the most vivid of our war-inspired literature. Tonight's story is based on the recently published book, The Last Days of Sevastopol, by Boris Voitkov, translated from the Russian by Ralph Parker and sent by cable to New York. It is the first time in history that an entire manuscript has been delivered to a publisher by cable.
The Last Days of Sevastopol, which fell to the Nazis July 1st, 1942. To Pravda, Moscow, from Boris Voitkov, Sevastopol, June 10th, 1942. Russians, your city of Sevastopol lies bruised and bleeding. Sevastopol, your last stronghold on the Crimean Peninsula, whose 8 months of siege have already given it legendary glory, is enveloped tonight in flame and smoke. The fascist knife is at its very throat. Sevastopol's days are numbered.
Sevastopol's days are numbered. Sevastopol lies bruised and bleeding.
Send this. I report an interruption. The telegraph operator, his face is drawn, his eyes are red from lack of sleep. Stop sending long enough to quarrel. Do you, dispute me, old man?
To this extent only, my comrade. Sevastopol lies bruised and bleeding, yes. Sevastopol is not broken. Sevastopol's days are numbered, yes. But in those days you shall see, hear, and perhaps survive. Happenings which will surpass in valor, bravery, and endurance anything your imagination can now picture.
I have no use for prophecies, old man, nor for imagination. My job is to report what I see and hear. Get on with your sending. High in the sky, as I send you this message, hundreds of beams from searchlights, Russian and German, cross in an air duel. A plane is caught by them. It slips and turns wildly, but in vain. Like a streaming torch belching sparks, it sweeps down through the smoke pall overhanging the darkened harbor. A long, loud explosion as it crashes far away. One wonders, is this symbolic of what lies in store for Sevastopol?
Sevastopol will never be taken by the fascists. That would be the trade school just around the corner from us. Where's my list? It is 47 minus 1 leaves 46.
46 what, old man?
46 buildings left standing in Sevastopol.
To Pravda, from Sevastopol, June 12th, 1942. There are few streets left in Sevastopol that are not filled with rubble, dust, smashed brick, and broken concrete. There are now 41 buildings left standing in the city. Sevastopol, June 15th, 1942. The German loudspeakers announce that this is our last day. Surrender, they say, or die. Nobody pays any attention. The Luftwaffe has divided the city into sections for bombing. They are systematic, these Germans. There are 38 buildings left standing in the city. But life goes on in Sevastopol.
My little boy. My little boy. I must find them. I must.
There's no little boy here, woman.
No, they've taken him away on the stretcher. I'm looking for his legs. My little boy.
Life goes on in Sevastopol. Sevastopol, June 16th, 1942. There are 33 buildings left in the city. But life and the fight goes on. The Germans announce this is Sevastopol's last day. I stand by a water vat. The girls come running from a burning cellar. Her dress is on fire. I reach for a bucket on the ground.
No, don't touch
Are you crazy?
the bucket, not the bucket. Throw me into the tank.
Come on.
There. It feels good. Thank you, comrade. You haven't been in Sevastopol long, have you?
Why, how can you tell that?
You were about to waste buckets of water by throwing it on me.
Yeah, but you were on fire.
I know, but water is scarce here. It must not be wasted for any reason. Remember that, comrade.
Sevastopol, June 20th. The Nazi loudspeakers boast that we can't last beyond today. There are 29 buildings left standing in the city. Sevastopol, June 22nd. Today I'm at the Admiralty. The Commissar is angry.
Look at this paper. Look at it. Read it, I say.
Citation. Well, I don't understand, Commissar. This citation says this man is a hero.
Yes, they're all heroes. And it's my job to decorate them. But where am I to get the decorations? Why can't these people consult me before they do these heroic deeds?
The Commissar is more than half in earnest. Now he calls in some rebellious deep-sea divers whose job it is to retrieve desperately needed material from cargo vessels sent to the bottom of the harbor by the Germans. Mark you, these men have not had more than 4 hours rest each day for 9 weeks. But the Commissar is insatiable.
Well, you lazy hounds. Where are those 6 airplane engines you were supposed to bring up from that sunken ship? Why haven't I had those cases of dry bread? Where are the bandages, the cotton, wool, and drugs? What are you doing there on the bottom? Playing chess with the dead? Yes, just that.
Maybe you'd better come down below yourself. Then you'll be satisfied that it's impossible to get up those motors. They're covered with piles of dead horses and cavalrymen in the hold. I just can't go there.
Me neither.
Go down there yourself.
Go into that cabin where if I open the door, dead bodies of children will rush toward me? No. I can't and I won't.
What's the use, Comrade? Let's get on to something else. You'd let living children die for the lack of food and bandages.
The divers look at each other without a word. Then their spokesman says quietly,
We will go back down to that ship.
Did you hear the loudspeaker in the German lines today, Wojtekov? Did you hear it bellow that the spirit of resistance is dead in Sevastopol?
Sevastopol, June 25th. Good news today. Ammunition was low yesterday, looked like the end. But last night some ships arrived, loaded down with several days' supply of shells and powder. But the Germans know it too. The Luftwaffe is at work.
My little ones, give me faster tempo. These ships must be unloaded by morning and out of here. Otherwise, Petro, move that bag of yours.
Yes, it is my friend, the Commissar. The man of many jobs and responsibilities. The man who handles tough deep-sea divers with so much diplomacy. Here in this inferno where so many hesitate, he is in his element. I follow him as he moves from dock to submarine to ship to truck loading platforms, exhorting his men to speed, speed, and more speed, with a pat on the back here, a smile there, a word of anger elsewhere.
The front needs this stuff. We mustn't let the front down.
And they are not letting it down. But the price is high. The methods must be ruthless.
Commissar! Come quick! What is it, Petro? It's Ivan, the leader of the convicts who are part of my gang. He's refused to work any longer and has threatened the others if they continue unloading.
Oh, so little Ivan did that, did he? Let us reason with him.
Come on, why work? Why worry? What does it matter to us if this stuff gets to the front or not? What do we care if the Germans win? I tell you...
Yes? Yes, go on, Ivan. You heard my invitation, Ivan. Proceed with your exhortation. I've nothing more to say. You open your mouth and say, I said open your mouth and say ah. Ah. I must apologize to you men. Now get busy. I want tempo. Do you understand? Tempo.
He gets tempo. Sevastopol, June 26. Today there is a lull. Only the Nazi loudspeakers break the unaccustomed silence to tell us we're beaten. That tomorrow they will be in the city. Last night the Luftwaffe came again. Today the number of standing buildings is 13. And now there is a hush over Sevastopol. The day is dazzlingly bright and hot. I sit on the beach to rest.
Here. Set him here, Gregory. Good. It is well for him to sit in the sun. His hands and feet will heal more quickly.
It is 2 Marines. They carry a boy of 9 or 10. The boy's hair is gray, almost white. His hands and feet show the scars of bayonet wounds not yet healed. They tell me his story.
He cannot walk, comrade. His feet have been burned, as you can see. And both his feet and hands pierced by bayonets. We found him one day crucified, nailed to a rude cross with bayonets. The Nazis.
They caught him when he was returning home from his 12th reconnaissance raid of the month.
You mean he was a Soviet reconnaissance officer?
Oh, no, comrade. He is much too young for that. But here all must do their part against the fascists, regardless of age.
So we bring him to the sleeping sea each day and hope that his body will be cured.
May I speak to him?
You may, comrade. But it took us many weeks to piece his story together. You see, the only thing he remembers is what happened in his mother's home, just after he had been captured by the Germans, and before they had crucified him. Listen. Nikolai.
Yes, comrade.
What are you thinking about, Nikolai?
There were many of them. Armed men in a gray fascist uniform. They pushed me into the house. My mother came to me with tears in her eyes, beat her on the face. One of them held her arms, 2 others stripped the clothes from her body. Then, when they had finished, I ran to my mother's side. I kissed her face. It was wet with tears and sweat. I told her I loved her.
And what did your mother say, Nikolai?
Nothing, comrade. My mother was dead.
Sevastopol, June 29th.
Listen to me, Russians.
At the battlefront at the city limits of Sevastopol, the German loudspeaker is working again.
This is a German soldier speaking to you people of Sevastopol. A man who believes in the same things you believe in. A man who loves honor and peace as you do. But do not laugh, Russians. I can promise you that if you surrender, the Fuhrer will give each of you a piece of land and a tractor. Surrender, people of Sevastopol. Germany always treats her enemies with honor and consideration.
Too bad little Nikolai is too far to the rear to hear that.
For the last time, men of Sevastopol, surrender or die. If you refuse, we resume firing. What is your answer? Yes or no? No!
Sevastopol, June 30th, 1942. All is quiet again on the front. And time now for a picture of the sector headquarters on that front. I am surprised at the thought of the commander of one of the most vital positions defending Sevastopol snoring his brains out. Surprised and disappointed.
I met him last evening at the Admiralty, and he invited me to visit his headquarters. As I enter the dugout cautiously, I see a soldier. Hello, I am the correspondent. Oh, I am the correspondent the chief was expecting.
Yes, you must wait. Chief is sleeping. Sit by the door over there.
I sit by the door and watch a strange tableau. A military doctor addresses a soldier who is just getting down from a truck.
Hello there, beautiful. If you're doing nothing tonight, maybe we can find a nice spot to be together.
Are you talking to me, Captain?
Of course I am. You're a woman, aren't you? Even though you are dirty enough to be a soldier.
I am a soldier. If I'd been only a woman, I wouldn't have said a word to you.
Oh, is that so? Why then, since you are in soldier's uniform, have you no cap?
My cap? I left it on my husband's grave.
Poor child. Forgive me. Take my cap. I will pick one up on my rounds.
He places his cap on her head, and she goes down into the chief's dugout.
May I report?
No need to. Go ahead and have your cry. Tears spoil a woman's eyes, and it's difficult to revenge with bad eyes. Go, Olga. The battle that will decide Sevastopol's fate will soon begin. Oh, the correspondent of Pravda. Remember her, comrade. A sapper. She lays mines. Before the war, she was a concert pianist. Thousands of Germans have been killed by the minefields she has laid. Yesterday, she mined the pass they had chosen for their attack. She worked with her husband. He was wounded. She dragged him out of danger, killing 15 Germans on the way. But he died. She dug a grave for her husband and buried him. Thought to write a story about it. No, you'd better not. People wouldn't believe it. Excuse me.
Does he not snore beautifully, comrade?
He does, beautifully and quickly.
Is that you talking? Should not be killed?
It is, Comrade Commander.
Is it time to wake the Germans up?
There is 40 minutes yet.
All right. Give this comrade tea. Give him my portion.
Your portion, Comrade Commander. Here you are, comrade.
What sort of name is that, should not be killed?
Well, you see, when I entered his service, I was very much afraid. In battle, I would hide. He asked me why. I said, Comrade Commander, one should not be killed. And though I've gotten over my fear, he still calls me should not be killed. You wonder why he sleeps.
Naturally.
Well, you see, Comrade Correspondent, he has not slept in 10 days. Yesterday they attacked 18 times, and we only just pulled through. They haven't many ideas, those Germans, but they keep on pushing, one must admit. Oh, they're ahead of time. Better wake up, Comrade Commander. The fascists are becoming impatient, and the telephones will start ringing any minute.
All right, should not be killed. When we've destroyed all the fascists in the world, then I shall get a good sleep. Get some men in here to answer these phones. Hello? Stern? What? 40 tanks approaching. Why are you sitting there so calmly, then? You want reinforcements? Don't you know I haven't got any? Don't you know you are my reinforcements? Take note. 40 German tanks divided by a cool-headed 2 and halved again by common sense gives you 10 tanks. So what are you worrying about? Destroy them, Major. Destroy them. Hello? You're pounding the enemy. Your job's not to pound him, but to beat him. Don't you understand that? Stop losing your head in front of your men.
Phones sizzle as the chief
Hello?
goes from one to another.
Hello? Hello? Don't phone me unless you're ready to talk. Yes? Move some reinforcements up to back Stern, but don't let him know it. He bites best when he thinks he's cornered.
You don't need to be a military expert to know that the Nazis are opening up the biggest offensive to date, nor to realize that the city's defenders are caught with insufficient weapons and power.
Hello? Yes.
It begins to look bad for Sevastopol.
Field already. Yes, Admiral, just try to get us the ammunition. We're going to be using plenty in these next hours. Get us the stuff and don't worry. Well, of course we're jittery. Who wouldn't be? This is no tea party. Let's go, comrades. To the trenches.
And I tag along at the heels of one of the most extraordinary commanders I have ever met. The final battle for Sevastopol is about to begin. As soon as the artillery duel is over. No one tells me that. No one needs to. Everyone senses it. Men with unshaven cheeks and red-rimmed eyes munching bread and swilling it down with water. They're careful about the water. There's little of it. But who can tell when next they may get the chance to drink? Who can tell how many of them will ever get the chance again? Bullets carefully apportioned among the fighters. Just a few rounds for each man. Machine gunners take practice aim along the barrels, but without using precious ammunition. And then the artillery hushes its angry voice, and a strange sound reaches our ears.
Yes, Chief, but what is that?
It's the Romanians praying. Very helpful to us. We know that as soon as they've finished, the Axis attack will begin.
Ready, fellow Russians! Zero war! Here come the fascists!
The battle has begun. The tanks are coming out from the left side of the valley. I can see running figures following them. Germans. Half-naked Germans. They act as though they're drunk. Butts of their Tommy guns pressed against their sweating bodies. Only the officers are in full uniform. All have cotton in their nostrils because of the stench of corpses. The enemy advances in solid waves. Quicker and quicker their tanks come on.
Fire all calibers.
The Russian chief at his phone takes it in at a glance.
Armor breakers to advance. 5th unit to separate German infantry from tanks. Machine gun fire to be held. Fire ahead.
The big rifles open up now at the chief's orders. The armor breakers advance. Everything is enveloped in smoke. Nothing is visible. The German tanks break through, and several of our batteries have been silenced by direct hits. Now our machine guns open up, but the Germans advance behind their armor. The men are piling up like lava against our positions. Thousands of men cursing and praying as they wield rifle butts against human groins, ripped bodies with cold bayonets. Now, low overhead, the Luftwaffe comes into play, strafing the life out of Russian patriots. Our planes are outnumbered 8 or 9 to 1. The Nazi planes operate almost unpunished. Off to the right, the chief and his staff desperately bark orders. Beyond them, still further, an indescribable hand-to-hand battle. The German long-range artillery and monster mortars are now in action. Ours are knocked out by the Luftwaffe. Night has long since fallen, but night cannot wipe away the smell of fresh spilled blood. Night cannot cover the cries of anguish and pain that rise from the wounded. Night only makes more horrible the pools of gore which everywhere beset one's path. Sector by sector, the dive bombers plaster us. The enemy's infantry and tanks extend their menacing concentration. Everything indicates the imminence of a breakthrough. Having driven that awful wedge, if they can muster enough force to break our stubbornness in about 20 minutes of fighting, they can reach the road leading to Sevastopol.
We have held them, Comrade Correspondent. They have paused, waiting for reserves.
You couldn't have brought better news, should not be killed. Take me to your gallant chief. I must congratulate him.
Our chief is dead. You care to come and help bury him?
Beside a smashed gun lies the commander, enjoying at last the long sleep he had so much desired. There is blood on him. His men kneel beside him. Some of them cry. Then they carry him to his dugout. They press their jerseys to his wounds, that they may carry the blood of their beloved leader on their clothes. Then Should Not Be Killed places his cap on his chief's breast and says,
"Give what you can, men. We will pay for a tank as a memorial. You understand?"
There is not a dry eye in the place. And then The commander snores and wakes up and says,
What the devil? Payday already? Get their surgeon and the major, quickly!
The major comes and gets a dressing down from the chief. Seems he hadn't directed his end of the battle the way he should have. The surgeon can't be found, but the girl soldier Olga arrives. She examines the chief and says,
Your leg will have to come off, Comrade Commander.
Can it be done tomorrow?
Yes. I think it can wait till tomorrow.
Good. Should not be killed. You'll please call me in time for my operation in the morning.
In the morning, the commander loses his leg. A member of the military Soviet arrives and bestows not a tongue lashing, but a decoration on the major. And the Germans resume their attacks on doomed Sevastopol. There is not one building left standing in the city. It is July 1st, 1942.
As the fourth program of Words at War, we have brought you fragments from The Last Days of Sevastopol by Boris Voyetkov. The radio adaptation was by Richard McDonough of the NBC script staff. Boris Voyetkov was played by Stefan Schnabel. Others in the cast tonight included Barry Kroger, Martin Wolfson, Sam Wanamaker, Olive Deering, Alistair Kyle, Edward Frantz, Hester Sundergaard, Charlotte Holland, Joseph DeSantis, and Phil Clark. The original music was composed and conducted by Frank Black. The production was directed by Joseph Losey. Next week, you will hear The Ship, adapted from the novel by C.S. Forrester, the fifth program in Words at War, presented by the National Broadcasting Company and the independent radio stations affiliated with the NBC network in cooperation with the Council on Books in Wartime. This program came to you from New York.